Okay. I'm sorry. Hmm. Hmm. So your driver is not compatible. That's the issue. You have to delete the previous driver which is lying in your system. You need to keep only one driver. Which driver have you downloaded and from where you have downloaded? Delete this one first. Delete all the dependencies of Chrome driver which already are existing. Not Edge driver, only Chrome. Hmm. 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 Maybe that maybe that could be a reason. Which another browser you were not able to open up? No, this is also working. Okay. Okay. Now to update this, you have to restart your system for Chrome to be applicable in your environment variables, no? Because you need not to pass the path everywhere. So you have to update that. Okay, it's working fine, then it is good. Then you need not to restart your system now. It is working, it's good. Okay, no issues. Okay then, any other questions, doubts in your mind, in your code? Okay. Okay, then we shall start further with the object identification. Right. So let me just share my screen with you. Okay. So in the previous class, what we have discussed was the basics of object identification, that how it all started, how we can just take the help of optional attributes like ID, name and class to get the attributes extracted. Along with that, we also seen that how actually if there is some element which does not have any of the optional attribute, how actually we can get that extracted and implement and interact with it. Right. We have completed one of the part only. We have just seen how actually the complete XPath is made and how we can use it using the commands. Right. Now moving further to the next part, that is my another type of XPath, which is partial or relative XPath. Now we have discussed in the last class what complete XPath is and what are the drawbacks of using that is. Right. First of all, it starts from the root of the document, from the HTML tag, the very first tag. So we refrain ourselves from using it actually because of some reasons. In future we refer to the changes. So we don't prefer going with that. But talking about the partial or the relative XPath, it's not made from the very first tag of the page. Instead, it is made from a tag which has an optional attribute ID, name. You can use anything like that, right? Which is unique for that element that you think it could be unique. Like if I go over here and I look back for this element only, the same element that we were talking about earlier. Now over here if you'll see, this is an h1 tag which does not have any of the optional attribute, right? Again, if I move further to the upper tag, what partial XPath does is it looks for the upper tags to have some of the optional attribute which is unique, right? Now if I move further to the upper tag, this is the div tag which has a class attribute, which is a class attribute. Now class attribute, we have discussed why we don't actually go with the class attribute. We don't prefer working with the class attribute while identifying unique element, right? So we'll move to the upper tag now. Now this upper tag is div tag again, and it has two optional attribute. One is an ID and one is a class. So I can go with the ID part. I know ID is a good option for an unique element to be extracted. So I can take the help of this particular ID attribute here. I can say if I have to make a partial or a relative XPath, I can say that there is a div tag whose ID is main banner. Below that my element is lying. Right? I can say that. So let's just make the partial or relative XPath. I'll just will get this go. To start with it, with complete XPath, we used to add the single forward slash to start with, right? Now to just make sure that we are making the partial XPath, we'll start with the double slash. right? Now double slash itself will help me to help the what we call it, the inspecting screen, to identify that it's not a complete XPath anymore, it's something else that I'm going to do, right? Then ahead I can use a star. Now what this star is going to do, it's going to select the whole web page. That is also fine, you can do that, it's not like you cannot do that. But you can also give the tag name over here. If you are aware about which tag name you are going to use, you can give over here. Like I am using div tag right now, it might be possible you have some input tag, so you can give input over here. So as many as inputs are there on the page, they all will be highlighted, right? So I'm working with div tag now, so I'll give div in the square brackets. Now I have to specify that which div tag out of those 195 div, which div I want to use. So I need to specify that, right? So I'll give some property of it. I'll say it's having an ID at the rate ID is equals to, what's the ID of it? Main banner, we have copied it previously. This is a div tag which is having an ID main banner. Like this, it will be highlighted. If you are going right, it will automatically highlight that div tag which you are interested in the yellowish font over here, and it will give you an output as well that there is only one element which is being reflected by this XPath you have made. Right, this way. Right. Now after this I have one more tag to go on to reach my element. So I'll say slash div slash h1, like this. I have reached my element and this is what we have got. Control C, and this is what I have got. Right. So now if any case in future something change in the whole web page, then I will be considering only the div tag that I have used to make the XPath. I will not be bothered about the full web page above it. I don't care about it. I just will require this only div tag. I look for that, is this div tag existing, or the ID has been changed, or some attribute has been changed. I just need to have to update that as well, not the whole. Right. Now this is more convenient, or the complete XPath is more convenient. You can yourself decide. Right. So now if I have to use this XPath and extract the element from the web page and interact with it, so what I can do is I can just go on to my PyCharm over here. My code is already here. What I just need to do is I just will copy this whole from here. Control C. It was for complete XPath. Now I'm going to use the partial XPath. So I'll just will replace the XPath over here. Like this. Now if I save this and I run this, what I'm going to get is the output. So I'll run this. Got some kind of error. No such element exception. Okay, let me just comment this. So here I have got the output as well. What element I was looking for, the text I have got for that, which I was interested in. And this way my XPath is working fine. Right. Likewise, you can make XPath depending upon the attributes given. Preferably, it could be ID, name, likewise. But do not go for class name because it can create issues. So, except for class attribute, you can look for another attributes. Right. Now, it's not like that you always have to go and make your own XPath. It's really not like that. There are tools available by which you can just take on the help from. First of all, it's from this inspecting screen only. I'll just will cancel the search from here. I'll inspect this element. I'll inspect it. The page source for this element got highlighted over here. What I can do is, not to make the XPath, I'll right click over this highlighted part and I get the option of copy. Right. Now out of this copy you will get a number of options like cut the element, copy the element, like that. But just below that you will get the options like copy XPath and copy full XPath. Now if you go for copy full XPath, it will copy the complete XPath for the element. And if you look for copy XPath, it will be given as the partial XPath. Right. So you can use these options as well to get your XPath, or else in Chrome there is a tool available that we call CrowPath. Just need to look for add-ons on your browser and the CrowPath will be available. Right. Now CrowPath is a very good tool. You just need to you just need to uh, look for the element on the web page. Once the page source is highlighted for the element, where it will give you all the details of that element. Like if I look for this, I'll inspect this, you can see it got highlighted, and over here I got the informations like what is the tag name being used with for this element, what could be the complete XPath, what could be the partial XPath, what could be the CSS selector. Now for CSS selector we will come in some time that what actually this is, but for the time just see how it's giving you the information. Right. So this way you can get the XPath as well. This is about Chrome, that how you can just identify some element on the web page and make the locators for it. Right. The same thing you can do on other browsers as well, like Edge, Firefox. You can do the things on that as well. Edge, it will be easy for you to do because it's kind of same to Chrome. Both the things are kind of same to each other. So that's not going to give you any kind of different experience. But yes, Firefox is going to be a little different from Chrome here. Why is it so? I'll just will tell you. So I'll just will search for same URL. Let's say I have to give the full path. I don't like using Chrome, Firefox much, so you can see it's not at all used. Not the recent update has been downloaded. Okay, so now over here, what is the difference between finding elements on Chrome and Firefox is that this is the element which does not actually have any of the optional attribute like ID and name. Now Firefox gives preference. If some element has ID attribute with it, it's going to give you the partial XPath. If some element has ID attribute, it will give you a partial XPath. Otherwise, it's going to give you the complete XPath. Right? Always. This is going to be followed every time. Like the element that I am looking for right now. It does not have any ID. It does not have any ID attribute with it. It's not going to look for the upper tag. It's just going to look for that tag only. It does not have any ID attribute. It's going to return you the complete XPath. Right, you can do the same thing that I've told you. Right click over the highlighted part, go to copy option. Here you only get one option to get copy the XPath. Now it's up to Firefox what it returns you. What funda it applies, I told you, it looks for the ID attribute. Now if I copy the XPath, I copied it, I'll hit Control F on here, and this is what it has returned me. And what it is actually a complete XPath. Right. The same way, if I look for some element which has a ID attribute, let's say this text box, it has an ID attribute. Now this time it's going to return you a partial XPath. Copy XPath and paste. You can see now this time it has returned me a partial XPath. This is how Chrome is different from Firefox. Firefox always only gives you one option, and it depends upon its funda what it is going to return. But Chrome gives you two different options to get what you want. Right. But on Firefox there are more tools available which are more helpful. Like you're making your own XPath. You want to check that how many elements are being reflected, how many elements are being found by that XPath or by that locator. So over here the tools are available to check that. What those tools are, there are two different tools. You just need to look for add-ons, right, and this kind of link you can see addons.mozilla.org. Just go for here, and in here on the search box look for the locator you are looking for, that is XPath. It will give you a list available. And over here these are the tools which are currently available for the XPaths. You can see all these, but which I am concerned about right now is the two more easiest and useful one is this try XPath and one is this XPath finder. Now what this try XPath does, what you need to do to add it into your browser, just click on it, and here you will get an option to add on into your browser. Just click on it, accept the condition, and it will be added over here like this. These two icons you can see at the bottom up. Likewise, right, this is the icon of try XPath, and this is for XPath finder. So what I'm going to do is I'll just will use this XPath try XPath finder, and over here this kind of window will be appearing up once you click on it. Now what you need to do is when you are making your own XPath, you want to check for it. So you in the expression in here in this box, you just need to pass on your expression that you have made by yourself. You don't want it to copy it, you just made yourself, just put it here, and then after click on this execute. What is going to be done after this is it will look for that XPath that you have made in the whole web page, and it's going to return you the elements which are being highlighted by that XPath. It's going to give you the count as well, count 1, and where it is lying, where that actual element is lying which is being highlighted by this XPath you have made. So currently only one element is coming up, right, so it's highlighting count as 1 and showing me where actually my element is lying, right. So this is the use of this tool. This is the try XPath. And now talking about the another tool, now that is my favorite tool because it's very easy to have it used. You just need to click here the XPath finder. Now what it does, wheresoever you will be hovering your mouse over to the screen, it's going to give the XPath of that element. You can hover to the whole screen and look for which element you want. Like I want to go for, let's say, these top trending topics, or I want to look for this whole module. So I'll just will click on it, and just below I got the XPath. I can copy it from here and I can use it. If I again want to look for more elements, I can just go on, go on, go on. I want to look for this contact us block. This is the XPath that it has. I can copy it and I can use it. Right, but yeah, the funda of Firefox is going to be applied here as well. If it does not, if the tag does not have the ID attribute, it's always going to return you the complete XPath. Yeah, because this question comes up from many people that Firefox is not returning me that XPath that is Chrome is returning. I always tell that this is the funda that you need to understand why is it different from Chrome, but people still ask me the same question. But anyways, right. So this is something different from Chrome. You can use this as well. This is also going to give you the correct outputs. The XPath you are going to get over here are going to be same as there in the Chrome as well, and they're going to work fine. But up to you. You want to use complete XPath or partial, it's totally up to you. Right. Now this was about different tools, how you can copy the XPaths from the page source, how you can make your own XPaths, how you can use the tools to get it, all that. Right. Now talking about the another type of locator. This was XPath. There is another one which we call as to get over this hovering mouse. You just need to click on this try XPath, XPath finder icon again, and you will be free of that hover. Right. That's it. Now we'll move further to the next of the topic, which is my another locator, and that is the CSS selector. Now this CSS selector is a very good locator in many terms. In many terms, why I'm saying in many terms, because it's comparatively faster than XPath. It is faster, plus it is easy to make. Also, the tags that we use while making the XPath, I told you that the tag are very important. The counting that you do, that which tag you want to go inside, that's very important in XPath. But in CSS selector, tags are not compulsory. They are not, actually they are not, and it's very easy. Just that there are some rules to make the CSS selector. What those rules are? Like for ID, I want to use ID. So for using the ID, I will not be giving that tag name. I'll not be giving this ID over here that this is the attribute I'm going to use. I'll just will use a symbol that is hash. Hash followed by the value of that ID attribute, and that's done. That is done. If I show you over here, I'll go back to this window, and in here I'll say, let me just find the element. I don't remember the ID of that. Let's say this one, inspect. So it has an ID, user email address. Right. Now I'll just will close this and open again. And over here I'll say, using the CSS selector, I will extract this email text box. I'm using ID attribute, so as I said, I need to use the symbol. I'll say hash and followed by the value of the ID attribute, this. And here is my element highlighted this way. It's quite easy and convenient, and the XPath. Right. If anytime you want to use the tag name, you are interested in using the tag name, you can, but it's not compulsory. This way also it's working. If you'll put the tag name in front, now I know it's an input tag. It's a text box. I know it's an input tag, so I'll put input in front. Still, it's giving me the same element, right? So it is compulsory? No, it is not. Right. So this way I get my CSS selector using the ID. Now for class there is something different. I'll show you actually, but it will be more convenient. But the symbol for it is dot. Right. Now if I take you to an URL, let's say flipkart.com, and over here if I click on this login and if I inspect it, this is some autosaved number. I'll inspect it, and over here you can see this autofocus class, these. If I copy this and I paste it here, you can see the space in between, the space, right? So this space is having a different meaning in CSS selector. First of all, the space means that there are two different classes being used over here in this element. There are two different classes applied. Likewise, it could have 3, 4, 5, 6, all will be space separated. Right. So if there is any space in the name of the class, make sure that you identify it correctly. There is a space, then it's two different classes being applied. Right. Now how to use them to get the XPath, the CSS selector made using the class name. I want to look for all the elements which are there with this class name. So what I will be doing, using the CSS selector, I'll just will go on and I'll say Control F dot, and I'll paste the class name. But over here nothing has happened. I didn't get any element. Why is it so? No, I didn't remove the space. I just copied the class name. There are two different classes. So if I have to use both the classes, I have to specify the dot and remove the space. So now there is no space, two different classes being used, and both are having the symbol dot in front prefixed, so that the inspector screen could identify the class name and can highlight the element for me. Now there are two elements which are using the same classes. One is the username text box and second is the password. So I'm getting it highlighted over here like this. Now for class, you can see for password class there are more classes associated. One is this, one is this, one is this, one is this. Right. So this way you can use the CSS selector for class as well. Just you need to do one thing. You just need to go over here, prefix dot in front of the name of the class, remove the space which is given, and this way. This will be your CSS selector using the class, like that. Okay, now moving further, if I take it further to the next level, that I have to make the CSS selector for some random element. Now this was that I have ID and I'm making the XPath, I have a class name and I'm making the CSS selector, like that. Now I'm not interested in doing that. I just want to go on and I want to make an actual CSS selector for some element which is lying under some hierarchy or something like that, which is nested, you can say. Right. So for that only I have to make the CSS selector. So what I'll do is, let me just find out which element I want to look for. Let's say I want to look for this message element. So I'll inspect it and I'll see what where actually it's lying. So in here it's it's in the div class. in the div class. Okay, yeah, in the div class over here. So what I interested in is in going to this message box over here. So I can just go on and I can say that it has an ID. Right, so I'll say for CSS selector, I'll say I'm right now making it with the use of the tag. Right, so there is a form tag which has a ID this. So it got highlighted over here like this. Right. Now I have to move it ahead to the next tag which is below this form tag, right? It's under this form tag which is the div tag. So I'll go on and I'll say my cursor is here. To move further in the hierarchy, in XPath we used to use the forward slash, but in here we are going to use the this anchor icon over here, right? And then I have to specify to which element I have to go. So I'll say nth child. Now over here what this nth child is. Like in XPath, when we used to move further, we used to give the we used to give the tag name and the number surrounded to it, that which element I want to go inside, right? But in CSS selector, whichsoever tag name you have, be it a div tag first, then it has a span tag, it has an anchor tag, again a div tag. These tag names are not bothered. They all are they all are the child tags to the parent. They're going to come one by one, be it any tag, like it's a grid row, it's just a comment. Let me just take it as a tag right now. So this will be my first nth child, then this will be my second nth child, then this div tag coming up over here, this is my third nth child, this is my fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and likewise whatsoever tag I get, they all are going to be in the proper count irrespective of the tag name, right? So over here what I am interested is in going is it's the 1 2 3 4 5, right? So I can give 5 over here. So where I reached at the fifth tag itself, right? It could be possible that there might be some input tags between, anything could be there, but nth child is not bothered about the tag name. You just need to give the correct number. That's something to be careful about in CSS selector, and that's it, right? After that, this has become the parent tag now. This nth child 5, it has become the parent tag now because there are inner tags which I want to go inside. So I'll again use this anchor tag colon, and then I'll again use nth child. Now I need to give the child tag number over here, which tag name I want to go inside, the first one. Here I have to specify that I have to go inside the first child tag, right? So it got highlighted. Now inside this I have two different tags. One is the label tag, which actually displays that what this text box is for. It's typing for some message, it's for some name, some email ID, what that is, right? And second is actually the text box. So I have to again go inside for the child classes, sorry, child tags. So I'll say nth child. Now if I'll give nth child 1, so it will highlight the label 1, that is the name of the text box. And if I give it 2, then I'll get the input tag, right? I have not given any tag name, I'm just changing the numbers over here, and this way my XPath has been changed. Now if I introduce the tag names inside, I have not given the tag names yet, I just have started it with tag but I'm not continued with it. I'll The first tag was my div tag, so I get that over here, right? Then the next tag was also div tag. Okay, I gave it at the wrong place. Wait. Input. Right. This is the CSS selector which I have got. Like this. First the tag name, then the symbol, the value, and this anchor tag. Then I have given the tag name. Now this tag name is not important to be given, but if you are giving it, then you have to make sure that it is right. In any case, you just gave the tag name. It was not a div tag. It was not a div tag, but you accidentally gave it as div tag. Let's say right now I am having some label tag over here, but I didn't had any label tag between. I only have div tags. So you can see that none of the CSS selector is being highlighting any element. Why? Because the tag name given is incorrect. So if you are giving it, give it correctly. Otherwise, no need to give it. Just let this be, your element is still highlighting. Right. Plus the spaces. The spaces are really important in CSS selector because they have some meaning. What meaning it actually has, I will tell you in some time. I'll tell you that what the space actually means here. Right. So over here you can see this anchor tag and this colon. This colon is not allowed to have any extra space ahead and behind. If it is having some space, the CSS selector is not going to be made. It's not going to return you anything. I'm just going to give a space before this colon. It gives. But if I give it after, I don't have anything. There is no element which is being highlighted. Because the space means something over here. What it is, I'll tell you in some time, but let us complete this first. Same here. Now these all are the div tags. Starting were the div tags. My important one was the input tag, that I want the text box to be highlighted. In any case, I gave the tag name as incorrect. I gave label here and my NS child was 2, which I know it's not right. So you can see it's not even highlighting anything over here. If I'll change the NS child to 1, now I'll get this element. No, I have not, because there is a space which I forgot to remove. Like this. Right. So few things needs to be careful. First of all, the tags are not important. If you're giving it, give it precisely the correct ones. Second, no extra spaces required. So don't give it without any reason. Right. Now what is the use of the space? Why I am emphasizing on space? So suppose this is my whole form and it has around 20 to 30 attributes in the whole form. But that comes up, right? The lockdown is going on, so for to apply the passes, previously there was a form coming up which almost had 30 to 35 attributes which needs to be filled up. So like that, a long form is with you and some kind of hierarchy is being followed. So the CSS selector is going to become a very long thing over here. So what specific thing is having over here in CSS selector? Just find out that single form on the web page and look for the element you want. I want the element, that message text box. So what I can do is I'll give the form name, that form has this attribute, and take this ahead, space, I'll put space, and after putting the space I'll say there is an input tag in the whole form which has an ID, I just forgot the ID, let me just have that ID, user provided message. So what this is going to do is there is a space between the form name and the element I want to interact. So what CSS selector is going to do, in that form it will start looking for that element itself. I don't have to go on that inside this div, inside this div, inside this div. No, it will automatically look for it and will return that element to me. And this is what my XPath is going to, the CSS selector is going to look with the extra space. Right? This way. Okay. Clear with this point? Okay. Now you can use both these type of CSS selector along. You can give the NS child as well in the CSS selector, and you can give the space as well. It's totally up to you, up to your requirement. You want to use the space, you don't want to use the space, up to you. But if you are using it, use it with care. Okay. Now actually using this CSS selector to extract the element and take action on the element. So it's very simple to do it. Go back to your code and over here I'll say driver dot find element by. Now CSS selector element is coming up over here. So I'll use the specific one. You can use the generic one as well. And I'll put it over here. And I'll say dot send keys, and whatsoever key I want to send, I'll send. I'll say hello, good morning. Okay, now I'll save this and I'll run this. Got some error. Oh, okay, I used the wrong function. It is find element. Sorry. So you can see in the text box my message got printed what I wanted to print, and my browser got closed. So this way you can make the CSS selector and use that as well. Right. Now this was about the basic things about the CSS selector and the XPath, the locators. There are a few more things, like there are some specific XPaths coming up, like the text. For text, what happens is you can make a specific type of XPath to identify it. Like on some websites, there are some calendars or some pre-default text. Right, this message you can see. This is a pre-default text which is inside the tags. So I want to extract this only. So what I can do is I can use another type of XPath, which is basically with the help of JavaScript functions, which you can use as well. You just need to do one thing. Again, you are making the XPath, so you'll use // star. Inside that you will say there is a text on the web page. Text surrounded by a pair of parentheses is equals to the text which you are looking for. Which is the text over here? Message. Right. So I'll say message and done. So this way my XPath has been highlighted over here. So I'll copy it and I'll show you. This way you can make your text, make your XPath for some specific text on the web page. You want to look for the text, you can make the XPath by this as well. Okay, this is a JavaScript function. Likewise, likewise, you get some elements which have some different kind of IDs which are auto generated, randomly generated. Like you get some XPath which has some initial part as changing one and the rest of the part is constant, right? Then you get some kind of XPath which has the initial part changing, in between it's constant, and at the end it's again some random text. Or you encounter some of the IDs which has the constant in front and it ends with some random text. And the fourth, the disastrous case, which is the full random text. You cannot do anything with this, you have to move to the upper tag here, right? These kind of IDs or IDs you will be getting on the news URLs, which keeps on updating every time you just refresh them. At that sites you might get these kind of IDs, and if you have these kind of IDs, you don't rely on the ID attribute because they are random, they can change anytime. Might be you have made the XPath 5 minutes before and refreshed it half an hour later and the ID has been changed. That could happen, right? So how to deal these four cases? How to deal these four cases? Now that this one is the disastrous one, for this you cannot do anything. You need to go to the upper tab and look for a stable attribute, right? This is something you have to do in the last case. Now for the first three cases, in which the starting one is the changing one, the random one, and it has some constant. So for this also you can use the JavaScript functions again, and that JavaScript function is starts with. This is the function starts with, and to this you need to provide that what you are looking for. You need to look for either you are looking for ID, you are looking for the attribute ID and what you are expecting it, and then you have to provide the context of that, that what's the constant you are looking for, that it starts with that ID. If it is having some constant, you have to provide that constant part. If it starts with this, then it will tell you that yes, the element is found. If it is not, then it will just give you an error that the element is not found, right? But in here, in these two cases, you can use another function, that is contains. This is another JavaScript function and the same things need to be passed, that what you are looking for, you are looking for ID, and what's the part you are looking for, the constant, and you have to pass the constant over here in the second parenthesis. So in the whole ID it will look for the element, the constant part. If in the whole ID that constant part is there, be it in starting, be it in ending, be it anywhere, it will tell you, it will give you the element and you can work with it, right? And these three cases can be handled with this contains. You can look for the contains for three of the options like this, right? Now I don't remember any of such URL which could have this ID, otherwise I would have shown you. But you can do one thing, you can just go and refer the video over here, a pre-recorded video. I have found that XPath with a lot of struggle. In here, when you this one, this module using XPath with Selenium Python, in here these three functions are told in brief with the example. So you just, I'll request you to refer to this for the details of these three functions. You will get it more clear in those functions, in those modules. Okay, yeah, but hardly you are going to get this kind of IDs. But if you get some this kind of ID, then you should know how to actually handle it, right? So that's why I have told you this one, the message, the text only. This is going to be very useful when you're going to take the help of calendars. You want to extract or interact some calendars. Then at this time, this text JavaScript function is going to be a very helpful thing for you, right? Any questions, any doubts, you can just let me know. See, yes, exactly. But hardly we see the type of the element. Like if I'm using some calendar and in the project I have to choose some date. So I can just change the date over there, right? I can change the date over in the external files where I've kept the date to be selected, and then I can just pass that date to the project. I cannot change the XPath in the whole project, right? So at that time I can use this text function and I can say that okay, fine, this is the XPath, whatsoever date you are going to get, just include it in the quotes and find the element for me, right? So that kind of necessities can come, that you just need to see what actually you need and how much less you can edit your project, because it might be possible that the same expert you're using at some another places as well, so you have to change it every place you're using it. So that's why the help is required over here. Okay, any another questions or doubts? Okay, yeah, okay, sure, sure. You might be getting it at the very end because these are the topics I have covered at the last only. So at that time, yeah. If you want to see the whole video, you can go through that as well. Okay? Okay. So this is all for the class today. Have a good day, practice it, and if you face any issue, just let me know. Okay?